In the early 16th century, Spanish Giovanni met representatives of the Aztec civilization as part of the Cortes expeditions. In the city of Tenochtitlan, now part of Mexico City, these Giovanni were introduced to a massive, formalized necromantic tradition. So naturally, they killed, enslaved, and converted the heathens, bringing them into the fold. The Giovanni called these converts Pisanob, a Mayan term that roughly translates to ghosts of the dead who walk the earth. The fact that the Aztecs weren't Mayan didn't concern the Europeans. That these vampires already had a name, a legacy, and their own beliefs mattered little to the Giovanni. Their leader, Pachli, was still in charge of the Pisanob up through the family reunion. However, the family had been whittled down to the bare few remaining kindred after the ongoing attacks by the Harbingers of Skulls. Although the reason for the attacks were unknown, Pachli offered his unlife to the Harbingers in exchange for an end of the hostilities, which the Harbingers accepted. Now the remaining children of Tenochtitlan are deciding on a new leader while planning their revenge. Greetings, Kindred. I am Voivode Maquette, and welcome back to our World of Darkness on another episode of Metaplot Monday. We are doing another lore sheet today, specifically the Hecata bloodline character lore sheet of the Children of Tenochtitlan, or as they are known commonly throughout the Hecata, the Pisanob family. I have always thought that these guys were just really cool, and now after going over the drowned legacies, the South American bloodlines of Kindred, I wonder if they actually should fit into that level also, like still be considered those Kindred. But they are representatives of the Hecata and Old Guard Giovanni because they were accepted into the Giovanni family. Now they're branching off on their own and doing their own things, and I very much enjoy them. Every family within the Hecata that comes from the Giovanni, be they the Pisanobs, the Putanescas, the Milliners, the Duncerns, they all have their own special thing. And the way that I represent that in my games, and I'm going to stress that this is not canon, this is just the way that I choose to do it, is I don't make members of the Pisanob family have the prerequisites for rituals, because historically speaking, the Pisanobs are supposed to be so just good at rituals, and I think that giving them the ability to have whatever ritual they want without having them be shackled to the prerequisites makes it a little bit more interesting when it comes to them. I'm also not that big of a fan of the prerequisite system just because of how things tend to be with the way that the levels work and all that, but doing it this way gives them a little special flair for themselves. We are going over this lore sheet just to see what they are still bringing to the table when it comes to this family reunion. Investing one trait into this lore sheet gets you hiding from the wolf. The remaining Pisanob survive because they are really, really good at hiding. You've learned all manner of techniques to remain out of sight of those who hunt you, and those you would hunt. You get one extra die on any roll to hide, including via the disciplines or ceremonies. That's a very interesting way of looking at things. Perhaps these guys should actually also come with Obfuscate. That would be a very interesting thing to see. Perhaps they have Auspex, Obfuscate, and Oblivion, or Fortitude, Obfuscate, and Oblivion. That would be very neat to see. I like the idea of the alternate disciplines between the families. It gives you the ability to run a game of all one clan and allow them to take what they get from that. But maybe just a couple extras of stealth. The idea that you get one extra dice on any roll to hide, including with the use of disciplines and ceremonies, is pretty cool, considering all the different things that you could actually use those individual ceremonies and disciplines for. We're not just talking about obfuscate. We are talking about possibly hiding in the Shadowlands after going over there yourselves and avoiding being seen through the discipline of sense the unseen aspects. It's just a very interesting little thought experiment there. Investing 2 traits into this lore sheet gets you ghostly instincts. The original Kindred embraced in Tenochtitlan were extremely talented necromancers, and they have carried on a wide variety of tips, tricks, and secrets among their brethren. You've learned some of those secrets, which give you 2 additional dice on any Oblivion ceremony roll involving the summoning, control, or destruction of ghosts. So, with this background, with this level of the lore sheet, it gives you basically an extra oomph against wraiths. That's kind of neat, because that's what the Giovanni were for, really. When you look back in the past, the Cappadocians were always good at raising zombies and spreading plagues and things like that, where the Giovanni themselves were wraith oriented. The fact that they decided that they were going to bring these guys into the fold specifically because they might actually have gifts that they themselves were not that good at is an interesting thought. I like seeing if the whole mentality of the Giovanni when it comes to the other families was, if you can't beat them, make them join you. Granting 3 traits into this lore sheet gets you forward thinking. After years of being hunted down by the Harbingers of Skulls, you've learned to always plan ahead, turning potential tragedy into triumph. Once per story, you can re-roll any skill roll. In addition, you always get 1 free skill re-roll in any scene in which you work against another Hecata. If the Hecata in question is a member of the Harbingers of Skulls, you get an additional success on that reroll. Even after all this time, with everything being set so that everybody gets along, and they don't at all, it's kind of funny to see that you get extra oomphs when it comes to just working with other Hecata in general, but especially against the Harbingers. The fact that grudge between those 2 groups are still there. And I hope actually in the Metaplot it does tend to grow into something else. Because the Harbingers of Ashir, as they're called now, they're still the Harbingers of Skulls. They're still the same ones that were in the Sabbat. And seeing where exactly they're going and weaving in and out through things is a pretty interesting example of where this Metaplot is still sitting on a cliffhanger that we're all waiting to see what happens. Putting 4 traits into this lore sheet gets you Necromantic Prodigy. The secrets of Oblivion are yours to command, whether through study, your ancient bloodline, or secrets that you have acquired from your cousins over the years. Your mastery of necromantic ceremonies is unparalleled. You get 2 automatic successes on any roll necessary for activating a necromantic oblivion ceremony. So 2 automatic successes when you're doing a oblivion ceremony. That's pretty darn good, considering how things like that can go wrong. Necromancy is still a nasty discipline. I like the fact that they focus so hard on the ceremony aspect when it comes to the Pisanob family. Putting 5 traits into this lore sheet gets you next in line. Now that Pochley has sacrificed himself to the Hecata's grand plan for unity, it is time for another to step up and lead the Pisanob to future glory. You are one such individual. Wielding a balance of necromantic skill and political savvy, you have an additional 2 dots of status within the Hecata. Further, you have an ally among the Anziani, who act as a 5-dot Mala once every other story. You can purchase the Mala background as normal to make the character more regular mentor or patron. The Anziani, which translates to old ones, the old folks. It's a respected term. Basically, just means that you know elder Hecata who are willing to go to bat for you. I like the fact that it says every other story. That's actually kind of interesting. But you're also still allowed to put more points into it to make it more regular so that you have access to it. Every one of these lore sheet attributes is so worth it to add a little bit of flavor to these characters, because the Pisanob family, the Children of Tenochtitlan, are so awesome. Like, they were noticed in the 1600 by the Giovanni because the Giovanni realized that they had skills that could be utilized in the family. That's just so interesting, and they make wonderful SPCs too. If you don't have any players who have that, because having that lore master and the master of ceremonies in your Hecata group is it's always helpful to be able to have that person who can go, oh, I always add, an extra 2 successes to these rolls, because sometimes you just need that stuff to happen. So I'm wondering how many of you all who have played Hecata have decided to take this lore sheet, like, specifically. There are so many others, and this book, the Cult of the Blood God books, just adds so much to being able to play it. And when they first talked about how the Giovanni were going to be absorbed in this Hecata group and stuff, I was a little nervous, but I actually like the way that things are going out now. There's so much diversity, and since the Hecata, at least for the time being, because of the promise of 1528, they don't interact with the other groups much. You can't get political when it comes to playing a Hecata when you're dealing with the Ivory Tower or the Anarchs. But you can play, and we're proving that right now with the Black Sheep plotline that I'm running for my game Thicker Than Water, that you can have a whole political upheaval, and everything that is so much fun about Vampire the Masquerade, the intrigue, the mystery, the horror, the political backstabbing, all of that stuff can be done by running a full clan game of the Hecata, because there's just so much diversity. I am Voivode Maquette. This is Our World of Darkness, and thank you for joining me in this Metaplot Monday as we looked into the Children of Tenochtitlan, which are a lore sheet for the Hecata in Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. Thank you very much.